Okay, hey there everybody. So this is a video I've been looking forward to creating for about a week now for a couple of reasons. One, because when I created the Summers Made group, I wanted to talk about how Glowforge and Cricut can be used together. Now when I say Glowforge, I mean pretty much any laser cutter, and when I say Cricut, I mean any Final Cutter, a silhouette, etc. Will do exactly what I'm going to show you how to do. I stumbled across this design by accident. I have a customer that ordered some cake toppers, and I made it the first time for her by cutting out a card. So this is the actual card that I used for her cake topper. It said guns and glitter. And then she came back and she loved that. It was literally a piece of card stuck on a stick. And she loved it. Anyway, she came back and she wanted one for a 50th anniversary. Now, you know, you can get these from Party City and everything else. Sure, but she likes the homemade and everything else. So I looked at a really great design on how we could do this using both the Glowforge and the Cricut, and it came out amazing. And so the reason I want to do this video, one is because it's the first true design that I've come up with that uses them both with great synergy. But the second reason I was really looking forward to doing this particular video is because it meant that I had to go to the store and buy a cake, because without a cake I couldn't really show you how it was going to work. So I think it's probably the only way you can buy a cake and have it tax deductible, because obviously it's a training video, and so I need a cake, and so therefore the cake is now tax deductible. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to be using Illustrator first of all. Now this, you can use anything, Inkspace, etc. To do this. I wouldn't advise designing this in Cricut Design Space. Cat, you are really not helping. Okay, can you go down? Thank you very much. Sorry, Amethyst wants to play. So we're going to start in Illustrator or any system that you want to use. Now let me show you my Illustrator screen. Yes, you can see my Illustrator screen. Great. No, that's not my Illustrator screen. There we go, my Illustrator screen. And what we're going to do here, first of all, I need to make this a little bit smaller because I can't see it with the live software in the middle as well. There we go. I hope that's big enough for you guys to be able to see that. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a cake topper for a 25th birthday, because that's the easiest one first of all, and then you'll be able to see from that the simplicity of this design and how cool this is with the Glowforge and the Cricut merged together. Okay, so here we go. We're going to use some text, and we're literally going to type 25th. I'm using my favorite font for this, which is the Magnetic.Script, which is a purchased font online. And then we can mess with the kerning and the spacing, etc. Right now, that actually looks really good. Now, when you're making something out of card, you really need all the letters to be connected to each other. Otherwise, if they're not, it's going to fall apart. But with this design, you can have gaps in your letters. You'll see in a second how that works. Okay, so here's our letters. So we're basically going to make this and connect it to the cake topper. What we need to do first, though, is turn this into into outlines. Okay, so we've got our text here. We've highlighted the text, and we're going to press Command, Shift, and O, or we can go up to the menu at the top and click Type, and then create outlines, which is already grey because I pressed Command, Shift, and O. Now this is the outlines. You'll see that this T is overlapping the H and is creating multiple cut lines. If we use this, we're going to end up with holes in our H because the T overlaps. And so what we're going to do there is use the Pathfinder. That's available under Window and then Pathfinder. And we're going to merge all of the fonts together. And so now that hole that we did have in our H has now disappeared. And then we're going to just make sure that this is the right size. And so we're going to resize it slightly, and we can see that this is 6.17 inches wide. We want to make it about 5.75 inches wide. Because if it's going to go on a 6-inch cake, which I think is the cake that I bought, I think it's probably about 8 inches, but 5.75 inches is a nice size across, especially if you've also got a word underneath birthday or anniversary, etc. But for our first one, we're going to do it nice and simple. So we created the text, we turned it into outlines, and now we're going to save this as a SVG file, not a PDF. Although the Glowforge can accept PDFs and SVGs, the Cricut can only accept SVGs. So we need it to go into both systems. So we're going to save this as, and we'll give it a name. Let's just stick it on my downloads directory so I can find it in a second. And we're going to save it as an SVG. And we'll call it 25th because that's what it says. And click on save. And now we have saved that as the 25th SVG. Next, we're going to go into our where's my, give me a second here, I couldn't find the right tab. I have a few too many tabs open. There we go. This one is going to work. Here's my Glowforge, and you'll see right now I don't have anything in my Glowforge, so let's go ahead and put a nice piece of clear acrylic in there, which if I was organized, I would have had a piece of clear acrylic right next to me, but that's white, that's teal. Okay, give me 1 second. Just talk amongst yourselves for a second. Okay, you can stop talking now. So I have now got a nice piece of clear acrylic, and we are going to be using proof grade acrylic just for this, but obviously any clear acrylic that you have had great results cutting is going to work. So that's going to load that into our screen, and then we're going to click plus and upload, and we're going to find our file that we just created, 25th SVG. And then because it is a proof grade acrylic, it's already come up with our settings for the acrylic. And now we're not going to engrave this, but what we're going to do is do some magic inside the UI. Now, the important thing here is not ever to resize the text once you brought it in from the SVG, because we're going to cut this both on the Glowforge and on the Cricut. It must be the same size. So what we're going to do with the text we just brought in is we're going to turn it into score lines. And the reason we're going to do that is so that we can perfectly position what we're going to do with the Cricut. The next thing we're going to do is create a small box when the UI wakes up. Here's our small box, and we're going to turn this small box, let's just stop that being linked together so we can scale it, into a long stick. Okay, and we want it to be about 4 inches long. So we know that this is about 2 inches tall, so now that's going to be about 4 inches long. In fact, we can see it's 5 inches high here, which is probably good enough. Let's make it just a little bit shorter. Okay, so here is our text and our stick. And then what we're going to do is we're going to highlight all of these, And we're now going to use the magic feature in the new Glowforge UI, which is the create outlines. And we're going to go ahead and click that and create new outline. And what that's going to do is put an outline around the whole thing. Just wait for that to do its magic. There we go. So it's created an outline around the text and also around our stick. We probably made that stick a little bit too wide. It doesn't need to be that wide to be able to stick into a cake. So we can press Control-Z to undo that and go ahead and make our stick a little bit smaller. And just make sure your stick's kind of in the center, otherwise it's going to look off when you make it all together. And so again, we're going to go ahead and click that outline, click the button Create New Outline, and now it's created us our cut lines. So at this point, we can get rid of the stick because we don't need that to engrave. And we're now going to have the score of what we brought in from the SVG and then cut lines of our outline. And then we're going to move that into a little bit more economical place on the acrylic. And the nice thing about this is it's not going to cut through my proof grade barcode, which means that this sheet is going to work again later on. We could get really economical and put it at the top, and then I can put more sticks. Let's do that. Let's be super economical with this sheet and put it at the top here, and then we can put another one upside down going this way, and we can use more of that sheet later on. So there's our piece of acrylic that we're going to go ahead and cut. So we'll cut that now and just press print and send it over to the Glowforge. So that's now doing its autofocus. As I say, already got the settings for medium clear acrylic here, but if you're using non-proof grade, you need to make sure you've got the right material selected. And any second now, my blue light on my Glowforge is going to start flashing at me. And then we can move on to the Cricut side of things. Okay, so that's now cutting that out. So then we're going to move over to the Cricut. And we're not going to create Pokeballs right now. So let me just go ahead and save my Pokeball project. And we're going to create a new project. Okay, and then we're going to click Upload and Upload Image, Browse, and we're going to go ahead under our Downloads directory and find that 25th. Now again, the same rule apply here as it did into the in the Glowforge. We mustn't resize this because we're obviously bringing this graphic into two places, and it needs to be exactly the same size. So when you're dragging it, just make sure you don't resize it. We've already made sure that this is outlines, it's all ready to cut. But what we're going to do here is select everything and click attach. What that's going to do is make sure it's cutting it in this order and doesn't just move them all around and find a clean piece of final to cut from. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and click make it. And here it is on our sheet. The Glowforge is happily whizzing away doing its piece of work. And let me go ahead to the overhead camera, which for some reason I don't have a button for. Give me 1 second. And where's my overhead camera? There he is. All right, so here's our cutting mat. Here's my cake. I'm going to move that somewhere safe so I don't knock it off the side. Take off our protective film here. And just give me 2 seconds to take my microphone off a second. Okay, and we're going to use the same gold foil as I did for the previous job, just because that was the closest thing I could get hold of. And if we look at the computer again, we'll see that it is 6 inches across and just over 3 inches down. So we want to make sure that we bring you back to the right camera so you can see what I'm doing. I will get better at switching cameras. We're going to make sure that it's over 3 inches, over 6 inches long. And what I normally do is cut the piece I need so that we're not messing with cutting it out later. So there is our 3 by 6 piece, and we're going to put that onto, I'm using light grip here because I find that anything stronger than light grip just grabs to the sheeting too much. We're going to feed that into our Cricut Maker. We have a Cricut Maker, a Cricut Air, and a Cricut Joy here, which is pretty cool. And let's go ahead and click continue, and let's get you to look at the computer so you can see what I'm doing here. So it's found the Cricut Maker, and then we're going to look for glitter vinyl. So it's important with the Maker that you're setting this to the right equipment that you're using. With the Cricut Air, you obviously have the little dial that you're able to use, but with the Maker, everything's set in the software. So let's go ahead and press the go button. While that's doing that, our Glowforge has cut out our really nice cake topper here. And let's just wait for that to finish. While that's cutting that though, I'll peel the acrylic, get that nicely peeled, and it's going to come off in a couple of pieces because obviously now we've got the score lines that cuts through the things. So we peel that all off. So obviously if you're doing this for a client, you'd probably want to wash it before you put the vinyl on as well, but I don't have time to do that while I'm on a video, so I'm not going to wash it. But you want to make sure that, bearing in mind this is going into someone's cake and into someone's food. Me and my cat are going to eat this cake, so it's not a big deal. So I'm just going to peel all this off. The other easy way of peeling this off is using some Gorilla Tape, some Gorilla Duct Tape, and then just sticking it on, and that gets this off nicely. But I'm nearly there now, so it'll take me longer to find my duct tape than it will to get this peeled. Here we go. And then we're going to quickly weed the gold glitter as well. So there's our thing. It's still got film on the back, but to save time, I'm going to leave that for now. So we inject our glitter vinyl out. Now, one thing important when you're peeling off vinyl from the backing is to peel the backing off of the vinyl rather than the vinyl off of the backing. That way you won't stretch your vinyl when you're peeling it off. There we go. And we are going to weed the excess off of this. Come on. Be nice to me. People are watching. Yeah, this glitter is so fine that it's not fun to weed, but the finished result is awesome. So just give me a few seconds. The problem is with doing these things live is normally I would speed these bits up, but you can't do that when you're doing it live. Not until my time machine is finished anyway. Here we go, nearly done. A little bit in the middle here. That's it. And then finally I crunched up the part of the H. So I'm going to peel that back and then let it, there we go, perfect. Okay, so there's our 25th. There's our acrylic that we cut out, and so now we're going to cut a piece of the transfer tape. So we need about 6 by 3 on the transfer tape. A little bit more of that. Now, one thing I was super surprised at with this Cricut glitter is it actually came with transfer tapes. Normally I use cheaper transfer tape because I go through so much, but this came with its own transfer tape, and we're going to put our design onto the transfer tape, get it nice and even. There's our 25th. And so we peel this off now from the transfer tape. Just make sure it's stuck nicely before you peel it all the way. Okay, there's the 2 done. Come on, stick down. There's a good 5. And then the TH. And the other nice thing about the clear transfer tape is you can see right the way through for your exact positioning. So there we go. So here's our 25th. And that's not plugged in, so that doesn't work. So here we're going to line it up with the score lines that we did with the Glowforge. So the good thing about this is there are not many points to line up. So if you make sure the top of the 2 and the top of the H is lined up, then everything else is going to fall into place. And then push it down with your finger. The acrylic is super smooth, so it sticks really, really nicely to it. And then we're going to peel the transfer tape very carefully off of our acrylic. Like so. Now this won't look fantastic from the outset because I've still got that masking tape on the back. So let me quickly peel that off and then we can show you what it looks like. But these are super fun to do. They look fantastic with just a little bit of clear acrylic, a little bit of glitter vinyl, and you can use any glitter vinyl. Just make sure your glitter vinyl isn't HTV vinyl. That's for iron-on t-shirts, etc. And we don't want to be using that for acrylic. I mean, it would probably stick to the acrylic, but there we go. There's our, let me get you a little bit closer to the camera, our lovely cake toppers, and that is going to sit, let's open the cake. That was the whole reason why we did this video, just so I could buy cake. But, help, let me in. Ugh. Okay, it made a complete mess of that box, but I've got into the cakes, and that's the main thing. So here we go. So here's our cake. Obviously, I couldn't do the video without a real cake, but then that cake topper is going to sit nicely in that cake. The camera, let me go back to my MacBook camera and carefully not to drop the cake, but there is our really cool cake topper. So a small piece of acrylic, a small piece of glitter, and we have a really cool cake topper that my clients are going wild over, and that's how we do it. So to recap, we cut the acrylic out. With the Glowforge. We used an SVG file for both the Glowforge and the Cricut. That's exactly the same size, and then we stuck the two together, and we have a really cool. It's now covered in chocolate, but a really cool cake topper. So I hope that helps. I hope you make lots of them and your clients love them as much as my clients do. Please comment below and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.